been talking this month about Les Misérables, and one thing that I wanted to talk about today was foil characters. Now, Valjean and Javert are very obviously foil characters for each other. They have enough similarities that the places where they are opposites are really, really obvious. However, each of them also has another foil character specifically at the barricades, and I think it's really interesting how this is done. Okay, so Javert goes to the barricades to spy, but there's another character who also goes to the barricades for kind of nefarious purposes to work against the other people there. Only he does it a whole lot less ethically than Javert. Le Cabuc, who it's implied is also Claquesous, who's a member of the gang that the Thénardiers were involved with, shows up at the barricade, shoots a civilian, and is immediately condemned to death because that is not how we do things here at the barricade, and, to make a statement that that's not okay. A police ID is later found on him, which is consistent with what was implied about Claquesous earlier on, that he's a criminal but also a police informer. Javert, on the other hand, while he does come to the barricade under false pretenses, claims to be on their side, is really working against them, he doesn't do anything nearly so horrible as shooting a civilian. In fact, the gun that he brings isn't even loaded. So while Javert is an antagonist in Les Misérables, he's also not entirely evil. He is, in his perception, a good person doing the right thing. The problem is that he can't comprehend any nuance when it comes to anything illegal, like stealing bread to feed starving children, for instance. His methods, though, are contrasted with Le Cabuc's. It shows that even though he's the enemy, he's going to act in a way that he perceives to be honorable. His integrity is underlined by the idea that this other guy is here, also working for the police, and behaves significantly less honorably. And then Jean Valjean. Jean Valjean is not really there for the revolution either. He's there to save Marius, who he now knows that Cosette is in love with. In order to save Marius, he participates in the events at the barricade. He stops short of using a weapon to kill anybody, but he does help out a lot in between the battles, and he treats the wounded and things like that. He doesn't really care at this point if he makes it out alive. He's much more concerned with Marius making it out alive, and ultimately they both do. But there's another character who came there, it's implied, specifically to die. Monsieur Mabeuf, who's a friend of Marius's, was previously a friend of Marius's father, and at this point has suffered from significant financial hardships. He's behind on his rent, he's barely able to put food on the table, he's a botanist and a book lover, but he's had to sell his botany tools and his books. And when he arrives at the barricade, it's not really because he thinks they'll be successful. It's more, in my interpretation at least, because he's completely out of hope. He doesn't see a better future, and so he wants to, go out with a bang. Both Valjean and Mabeuf are older men and don't really have any strong political views. Neither one of them is strongly opposed to what's going on at the barricade, but neither one of them is like a political activist either. The contrast between them, though, this man who came to the barricade absolutely hopeless and ready to die, and Valjean who came to the barricade willing to sacrifice his own life if necessary, but mostly there to save someone else. It really, I think, helps to emphasize just how heroic and selfless what Valjean is doing, and the low probability that he'll be able to succeed or get out alive. I think it's especially important that both characters, Valjean and Javert, have foils at the barricade, other than each other. The contrast between them goes on through the whole novel, and in the movie you even see it in things like their songs, which have similar lyrics and the same melodies. I am reaching but I fall, and the stars are black and cold as I stare into the void of a world that cannot hold. I am reaching but I fall, and the night is closing in as I stare into the void to the whirlpool of my sin. The songs are very similar. They're mirror images of each other because what they're going through is very, very similar, but reaching an ultimately very different conclusion. But at the same time, other than having motives for being at the barricade that don't involve really supporting the revolution, they're in very different places at that point. So I think that that's one of the reasons why Victor Hugo might have chosen to give them other foil characters at the barricades to contrast their particular actions there and reasons for being there, and to emphasize what makes them such compelling characters.